simple interest. Let's talk about what simple interest is, first of all. So, there are two kinds of interests. Interest that you have to pay, or the interest that you earn. Okay? So let's say pay versus earn. Okay? So obviously the interest that you have to pay is not good. We don't want to have to pay. We want to earn. So, but we're going to talk about both, okay? Well, you pay interest when you borrow money, right? So, by borrowing money, I want you to think about what that means. That means if you or your parents or your grandparents go to buy a house, and it's $150,000. It's not that horribly expensive. But you know what? Nobody has $150,000 laying around to go to the people who built the house and say, here's $150,000, thank you. So what they do is they go to banks. And they go to the bank and they say, I want to buy this house and it's $150,000. And the bank says, okay, we'll give you a loan. And then the bank will pay the people who buy the house and you pay the bank, okay? But they don't just give it to you out of the kindness of their heart. They're going to make some money off of you, right? So let's keep it simple. Let's go back down to you borrow $100, all right? So let's say you borrow $100 from the bank. The bank then says to you, okay, I need to charge you something for borrowing my money. So what they're going to tell you that they're going to charge you is not a flat rate. So Jack, do you need something? Okay. Do you need a pencil? Okay. Does somebody have, I could tell he was distracted. Does somebody have a pencil? Thank you, Kaylee. Yes. That's totally fine. Yeah, you're good. All right, guys, so listen up. So the bank is going to say, it's not going to say, you owe us $20 extra. This is a percent unit, right? So you're going to owe them a percent of what you borrowed. So the more you borrow, the more you pay kind of works, right? Kind of like tax, right? So if you buy a big item, you paid a lot of tax, didn't you? Okay, we saw that. Remember the car from the house and this stuff? So that's why they don't give you a dollar amount that you have to pay back. They give you a percent. So usually like good bank loans, we'll call it a 7% interest rate. So if you borrow $100 from the bank and they're charging you 7% of that, when it comes time for you to pay back your loan, are you paying $100? You're paying what? $107, right? I kept it easy. So the amount, I want you to put this is important, the amount of interest that you owe is $7, right? Because I made it 100, just for the point of it today. Your total payback amount would then be what? We just said it? It would be 107. So, you have to pay them for borrowing money from them. Does that make sense? That's how banks function. Okay? Interest rates. All right? So, let's take a look at this. Let's say, because 7% is not bad. Do you know that there are some credit cards out there? Like, by the end of the day today, I'm going to, have you totally scared of opening a credit card if you're not careful with it. So, let's say there's a credit card and you borrow $450 from it. Do you understand how a credit card works? Yeah. A credit card is a card. I'm sure you've seen your parents, grandparents use it. Yeah, you can go and charge $450 worth of something, get that whatever that item is, and not have paid any cash at that moment. That's what the lure of it is. But what you're not realizing is now you have to pay them $450, but you have to pay them a whole lot more than $450. Do you know what some credit cards charge as an interest rate? There's one that we got rid of. It was at 27% interest rate. So let's talk about what that means. And then the other thing I want you to think about is, how long are you borrowing this for? So let's say it takes this person for, let's say 2 years, just to keep it simple. 2 years to pay back. All right, so I got to give you a formula. So, normally I will not tell you to just memorize things, but I do need you to kind of keep this in mind. So go back up here if you want. We'll do another spot for that later. The interest is the amount that you owe the bank when you borrow it. Okay? It was the $7 over here. So I owed them $7 for borrowing $100. That's called the interest. The principal, okay, not principal, which is principal, it's spelled the other way, is your principal. This is principal. So this is the amount that you borrow. So that would be in this example, that would be the $450 down here, okay? Now there's two more things. There's your rate, which is the percent that you have to pay back. Okay. The number of years that you borrow it for. Okay. I know you're still writing, so I'll give you a minute. But guess what I'm going to have you do with all these? I'm going to make a formula, and it's going to be so easy. I want you to write I equals PRT. IPERT. So I equals PRT. And let's think about what that means. Remember how when you had to do percent increase and decrease, I gave you a formula? I said take the new minus the original divided by the original. You knew it. You memorized it. You did it. Now I'm giving you I equals PRT. What does this mean, Ian?
Interest equals principal rate of time.
Yep. Times this when they're all together like that, that means multiply, right? So you can calculate the interest you owe by taking the principal, multiplying it by the rate, multiplying it by the time. And that will tell you how much you owe in addition to what you have to pay back, right? Okay, I need you to understand that. So let's find the amount of interest on a $450 loan at 27%, which is outstanding, absurd, for 2 years. So watch what you are going to have to write on your paper. You borrow this much. How should I write the interest rate? As a decimal, yes, which is... And how many years did I borrow this for? 2. This is quite possibly the easiest formula because all you do is multiply everything. No dividing. You don't have to worry about that. So I borrowed $450 at an interest rate of 27% for 2 years. Let's think about that. What the heck does that mean? That means that in order to borrow $450, I have to pay them that much extra. It's costing me $243 to borrow $450. You know how they get away with that? Here's how they get away with that. So they give you a monthly bill every month, and they say it's called a minimum payment. And they'll say, here, we know you borrowed like $450 from us, but how about we come up with a deal? And the deal is you pay us $10 a month and you're good. And as like a kid, like my kid's 19, he's like, should I get a credit card, Mom? And I'm like, it's okay to have a credit card, but you have to learn about it. So, minimum payment means just keep paying them $10. $10 is nothing, right? You're like, here's $10. Well, what happens is you keep paying that $10. So here's the deal. It costs you $243 to borrow that. Add that to this, and by the time you paid them back for your you owe them $693?
Holy crap.
Yes. Great. Now let's look at this. Some people carry balances on their credit cards for longer than that. Let's change this 2 to 5. Let's borrow $450 at 27% interest for 5 years and see how much that would cost you. Just changing it from 2 years to 5 years. Whoa. Whoa is right. All right, so let me get this straight here. It cost me $607 to borrow $450. So when I pay them back, I don't pay them $450, I pay them $1,057. Yeah, that's how credit cards make their money. Guess what? Do you remember how they said you only have to pay $10 a month? They want you to hold off as long as you can, because the longer it takes you to pay, the more money they get from you. You're paying them back more for borrowing money. Do you understand how that interest rate works? Okay, so there are 2 questions that can be asked. Either how much do you owe in interest, or what is your total amount that you owe back? Got it? So let's take a look at this one. Let's say I borrow, you're going to try this one, $8,500 at an interest rate of 11%, and you need 3 years to pay it back. I have 2 questions for you. How much do you owe in interest? And how much is your payback? After the loan is done and 3 years is over, how much money will you have paid them? Total. Meaning you have to pay back the money you borrowed. So it's something plus something. So take a minute. Use the formula. Principal balance is what the amount you're talking about. 11% for 3 years. So then, did you write that out? Yeah. So then we do, I gotta turn this off. But this can go. Can you turn one of those lights on, Willow, please? Just right over there. Just top or bottom doesn't. Okay, perfect. So 8,500 at 11%. Look, did you put your 11% like that? For 3 years. So to borrow 8,500, I owe 2,805 extra. Yeah, and at that point you say to yourself, is it worth it? Okay, so your payback would be all of the 85 plus the 2,805. Okay, so guess what? You know why some people say, hey, I know these guys are giving me 3 years to pay it back, but I want to try to pay it off in 2 years. The quicker you pay it off, the less money. So see how much money you would. Ooh, this is a good question. How much money would you save if you paid this loan off in 2 years instead of 3? How much money would you save if you paid the loan off? Yes, in 2 years instead of 3. That's like a 3-step problem, isn't it? Find the total you would owe for both and then do what with them? Yes. That's a heavy question. Yeah.
Sometimes it is worth it paying extra because if you really need something.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you know what? Avery brought up a great point. What's up, Wes?
I was going to tell you, it'd be kind of weird. You borrow money just to pay off.
Just to pay off money. Some people borrow money to pay off money, and that's true.
Like you borrow and you just.
Yes. Yep. Okay. Have a seat. Here we go. Yes. So some people do, because if they have it in different places. So Avery said, you don't ever know what's going on. Maybe they need a bunch of money. Maybe they don't have it. So P times R. This time only 2 years. So that will have cost me that plus, I guess you could have So this is my 2-year. This is my 3-year. 11,305 minus 10, 370. Did you guys get 935? Yeah. So you save $935 by paying it off a year earlier. So do you understand how that works? So yes.
How did you get 11,205?
I took the amount that I owe in interest and added it to the principal amount, the balance. Okay? All right, guys, let's talk about the good interest now. All right? The interest that you can earn. So, my son, he doesn't have enough money to make a difference, but he keeps, his money in envelopes, under his bed. So he's got, this is his, his insurance money and this and that. And because he tells me here, when he owes me, he goes and gets it. So let's say that somebody has $30,000 under their bed in an envelope. That would be ridiculous. So let's say I want to go and walk into PNC, and I'm going to say to the lady behind the counter at PNC, hey, listen, I really want to put my money somewhere safe. I don't want it under my bed. Can I keep my money here? And the lady will say, sure. Give me your $30,000. And then she'll say, and you know what? For you trusting in PNC so much, we'll even pay you 3% of your money. So 3% of my money. So let's say they're going to pay me to keep my money there. Yeah, that's great. So it's not usually a high interest rate. But then let's say I leave it for 10 years. 10 years goes by. I don't touch this. So no, it's not 30%. It's just think about this. It's interest equals principal times the rate times how long you leave it there. So now figure out how much money did I make in 10 years by just letting my money sit there and doing absolutely nothing. How much money did I make, Eric? Is that what you got? 30,000 times 3% for 10 years. Now I made $9,000 in 10 years for doing nothing. So do you understand how interest is accruing? That's what they'll say. So So then what I'll ask you, that answers the question, how much interest did I earn? The next question I'm going to ask you is, after 10 years, I walk into the bank and I say to myself, I retired, I want to go on a cruise and take my whole family. I need to withdraw my whole balance. I'm going to close my account. Please give me everything. How much money are you walking out of the bank with? $39,000. Got it? Okay? So this is your new balance, right? This is like your payback, the amount that you get. This is how much the interest is. Yes, Dominic?
Every bank do this?
Yes. Every bank will do this. Now, here's the thing. The reason I made $9,000 is because I had a pretty huge amount to start with. If I deposited $100 at 3%, I made $3, right? So that's kind of how it goes. But like my kids, when they were 14, they had bank accounts. Like their interest each month was like 25 cents or 31 pennies. It was small because their balances weren't huge. Just like when we did tax, right? The amount of tax you owe is more when the items you're purchasing are more expensive, right? So that's how. So if you don't have a bank account right now, it's a really good idea to get one and things are deposited at Christmas or whatever. Okay? So do you understand how to find that? So you're going to get a sheet and you're going to be asked 2 different questions. What is the interest, or what is your total amount that you owe back? Do you understand? If you just do I equals PRT for all of them, you will be just fine. Got it?